Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. In my last video, I asked you if you wanted to see a winter horror thriller suggestions video similar to what I just did with the holiday horror, because I didn't have too many suggestions for holiday horror, and I feel like I have a lot more wintry horror suggestions. So I asked you if you would be interested, and I got a pretty resounding yes from the people that answered the question. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to go through my list of winter horror thrillers. I also have a manga to put in this video, so just like a big winter recommendations suggestions video. Again, some of these books I have read and some of them I haven't. So I will clarify if I've read it or if I haven't when I show it to you. And if you're wondering what makes these books perfect for winter, honestly, if there's snow involved, if it takes place during winter, that sort of thing, that's pretty much what my criteria was for this video. So if it mentions snow, if I know that there's snow involved, if I know that it takes place in the winter months with snow, that kind of thing, that's why it's in this video. I'm not going to go into too much depth because a lot of these I feel like either everyone has heard of and knows, or I've already talked about it, and so I'm not going to repeat myself too much, but I will give you kind of an overview of what this book is about, you know, that kind of thing, but just not too much in depth. So let's get into it, shall we? So first up is the only book that I actually don't have a physical copy of. I read it through NetGalley. I received an ARC of it, and that's how I read it on like my Kindle. So I am very sorry I do not have a physical copy of this, even though I absolutely need one, and that is Near the Bone by Christina Henry. So this was my first Christina Henry book, and I love this book. I think it is so good. First off, this is a isolated horror setting. So it deals with a woman and her husband who live in a mountain, just super secluded. I mean, there's no one for miles. So I love isolation settings. I find them very scary, and I think they're traumatizing, to be honest, but that's just because I associate bad things with isolation a lot of the time, because in horror, isolation isn't usually a good thing. So for me, the isolation's always just a, ooh, this is gonna be one of those kinds of books. So it has the isolation aspect. Two, there is a creature in this book. So if you are a fan of creature features, you have that in this. I am not a big creature feature person. I don't like monstery things. I don't know. They don't really get me in horror. However, not only do we have a creature feature in this story, we have the human monster, human evil, which is by far my favorite in the horror genre just because it's super realistic. So I really liked the play of the monster creature and then the monster human. I thought that was very interesting, and it's a very intense book. I always felt on edge while reading it, so that's something that I really enjoyed. But overall, I just really liked this book. I think it's perfect for the winter season, and yeah, I really recommend this book. I think it's really good. Okay, next up, I feel like this is a classic. I feel like this is a book everyone, or maybe not everyone, but a lot of people think about when they think of winter horror, and that is Misery by Stephen King. So we know that I have a complicated relationship with Stephen King. His books are very hit or miss for me. Most of the times they are misses, unfortunately. I have read Stephen King books that I really do love, like Needful Things. I'm a big fan of Needful Things, but most of the time I find his writing style to be just a lot of effort and a lot of work for very little payoff in the end, which I know is an unpopular opinion. Don't come for me, okay? I know. But I'm gonna give him another chance. You know, I'm not gonna cut him off entirely. I'm not gonna say no to trying more Stephen King. And I think Misery is probably an iconic read for winter, so I am going to try to attempt it. It is one of his shorter books, to be honest, which I think is really going to help me out here. I really think that's going to be a plus for me because his long books are just too much, okay? Again, I love Misery the movie. The movies that come from his books, I usually really enjoy. I love the movies, but I just can't get into the books, and I think it's just because it's just too much. I'm sorry, Stephen. I'm sorry, okay? I know. But I'm gonna give him another chance. So I do know what this is about. I am aware of how this plays out according to the movie. This could be different. I don't actually know how much of a difference there is, so I'm not sure. If you don't know what this book is about, it is about the main character who is a writer, and he gets into an accident, and this woman finds him and starts nursing him back to health, and lo and behold, she is a huge fan of the books that he writes, but she's also, you know, she's got some issues, and she holds him hostage. So that's what this book is about. Everyone led me astray with Pet Sematary, and I ended up hating it, so maybe this one's gonna be better. I'm not sure, but I think it's gonna be perfect for winter, so we'll see. Okay, next up on this list is a book that I recently heard about, and I thought it sounded very interesting, and a lot of people said it was like really disturbing, which as soon as I hear that, I'm here for, and that is Illeane by Ottessa Moshfegh? That could be really wrong. But yes, I have never heard of this book. I didn't until recently, but I literally didn't know what it was about. What I can tell, this book is about the main character who is a secretary at a boys' prison, and she's also the caretaker for her alcoholic father, and she's very resentful, and she's just kind of like meandering through life when a new woman named Rebecca St. John arrives on the scene, and she is the prison's new counselor, and from what I can gather, they take up a friendship, but it's like it turns wild and demented. It says her affection for Rebecca ultimately pulls her into complicity in a crime that surpasses her wildest imaginings. I don't know. Like, I don't really know what this is about. But it does say it takes place during the Christmas season. So, winter read. It sounds intriguing. I really like the cover. I think it looks really cool. I don't know. I really don't know. So, if you have read this, please let me know if it's good. If you liked it. Yeah? That would be great, because I need to know if I'm gonna like it. But it sounds interesting. I'm excited to get into it. I just don't know what it entails really. Next up is a book that I have read and am going to recommend wholeheartedly, and that is Voices in the Snow by Darcy Coates. So, you know I love Darcy. You know I love Darcy. Darcy is a queen. She is just my fave. I love Darcy. I can't recommend her stuff enough. So of course I had to take this time doing a winter book recommendation to give you a Darcy Coates book perfect for the winter season. So Voices in the Snow is book 1 in the Black Winter series. There are 4 books in the series. I read them all. I loved them all. This is a apocalypse zombie type story. Now, the zombies aren't typical zombies, and I don't know, I just felt like this was a cool take on an apocalypse. I don't like apocalypse horror. I'm not a fan of it. I don't really know why. I think it's just because they're very typical, and I don't know. I can't really vibe with them. I just don't like apocalypse horror. So I was worried when I read this. I was like, oh no, it's an apocalypse. But there's also some romance. I don't think it's too overwhelming, but again, I like romance, so, you know, take that how you will. But, you know, it's just so good. It's so good. Okay, Doran, my favorite character. I love him. I love him. I love him. Claire, the main character, you know, she can be a little annoying sometimes, but I love her anyways, okay? Basically what this is about is Claire is driving in a snowstorm and she gets into an accident, and Doran brings her to his mansion in the woods. There's no one for miles, and, you know, she's a little wary because a stranger, you know, brought her into his house, so she's like, oh, this is sus. But then they start realizing that the weather is super bad, so they both just stay there together, and they get snowed in and they can't leave. And then you start learning more about what's really going on in the world, and, you know, they experience for themselves the apocalypse and basically what has happened to people. That's like a very basic generic description, but I really liked this series. This was my first book by Darcy Coates and I fell in love, so I think it's a perfect winter read. And if you're looking for a Darcy book and you just want to read some Darcy, maybe pick this one up. You know, maybe. Next up is a thriller, and this is a thriller that I have seen so many people talking about recently, and it is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. So I actually don't know if this is a wintry book. I really don't, but it looks like it's a wintry book. It looks like it's trying to allude to the fact that it's wintry, and I'm gonna go with that. It sounds like it's probably gonna have some kind of like winter thing. I mean, I'm sorry, don't make this the cover if it's not winter. So I'm assuming this is a wintry read. It could not be. It could not be. I have no idea. But basically this is about a husband and wife whose relationship isn't what it used to be, and they win this trip to Scotland, and they're kind of banking on the fact that this trip to Scotland is going to either make or break their marriage. But they didn't randomly win this trip, so I don't know what's going on there. But, you know, marital secrets, marriage problems, it interests me, it excites me. I don't know, everyone keeps saying it's really good. It sounds very interesting. I'm excited. I've heard nothing but good things, so I cannot wait to dive into this one. Speaking of books that I don't know if they actually have anything to do with winter, The Winter Sister by Megan Collins. So I also am banking on the fact that winter is in the title and that there's like snow on the cover, that this has something to do with winter. So I don't actually know what this book is about, but from what I can gather, it's about this girl Sylvie whose sister Persephone went missing and then was later found murdered, and now 16 years later her murder was never solved, and Sylvie is returning home to take care of her estranged mother. But I'm assuming she's gonna now solve her sister's murder or try to figure out what really happened that night when she went missing. So yeah, again, don't know if it has anything to do with winter, but it looks like it does. So I'm banking on that fact, but it's another thriller. It sounds good. I believe I've read another thriller by Megan Collins and I liked it enough, so I'm hoping this one's good. Next up is my manga recommendation. Well, okay, I haven't read this manga yet, but I've seen the anime and it's probably one of my favorite animes of all time. And I just recently got volume 1 because this manga is extremely hard to get a hold of, okay? It's extremely hard. It goes in and out of stock a lot, and it's very frustrating. But that is Erased. Ooh, it's very bright. I'm very sorry. Look at that. Oof. Look at how cute. Oh my god, look at the back. Oh, okay. As you can see, lots of snow, obviously, so duh, perfect. So this is about our main character who has the ability to time travel. He can go back in time, and a series of unfortunate events really lead him to going back into time when he was a child. And when he was a child, one of his classmates was kidnapped and murdered, and so he basically takes this opportunity to figure out what really happened to her and to stop it from happening. And oh my gosh, I literally cried while watching this anime so many times. I watched the entire anime in a span of one night because I stayed up all night to watch it. It was so gripping. It was so intense. It's so emotional. It's so like sweet, and like it just tugs at the heartstrings, and I literally can't wait to read this because it hurts my heart in the best ways, but it is absolutely one of my favorite animes to date, and I think it'll probably be one of my favorite mangas to date as well. So I think it's the perfect winter read, but it's just a perfect story in general. I'm obsessed. I've actually heard that the endings are fairly different from the anime and the manga, so I am very interested to see what ending I actually do prefer. So I highly recommend. It's so good. Next up is a book that has kind of just swept up the book community by storm, which is so funny because I read this book last year, I believe, and a lot of people hadn't been talking about it, and now it's super popular, and I think that's so funny and so exciting because it's a really good book. So I'm glad that so many people are getting to read it now. But I just think it's that people have gone wild for this book. I mean, absolutely bananas, for good reasons. I do agree that this book is really good. It's just I mean, people have non-stop been talking, and that is Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell. I have a full review of this book on my channel, but I'll give you a little synopsis. The main character and his fiance decide to go celebrate their engagement up on this like mountain, like a mountain area, like a mountainous like they're going to cabin. They're going to go to a cabin. You can tell I don't go to the mountains. I literally don't know what I'm talking about. But they go to a cabin in the mountains to celebrate their engagement, and you know, everything seems fine. However, they start hearing weird things. They start, you know, hearing noises at night, animals that sound like screaming. They hear people like outside their cabin, and then there is a figure that stands outside their cabin whispering, and his fiance in her sleep starts whispering back to this figure. It's a very creepy book. This was a Reddit no sleep story, which is where I originally read it on, and then I got the book because I wanted to read the whole story just like back to back. But I really enjoyed it. I think it is fairly creepy. I agree with what most people are saying. I don't think it's like uber scary. I think a lot of people have been talking about like this being like the scariest book they've ever read. I don't personally think that, but I do think it is very creepy. If this was happening to me, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I do think the ending is maybe like a little rushed, but overall I do really enjoy this book, and I'm happy that so many people have been talking about it recently, and I do think it fits the winter theme, so I wanted to put it in this video for you guys, in case you haven't already picked it up after everyone suggesting it. But yeah, I do think it's a really good one. Next up, I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This book, I will never stop thinking about this book. This book, from the moment I finished it till now, I will never stop thinking about this book. I know a lot of people hate this book. There is people that absolutely hate it and people that absolutely love it. I am more on the absolutely love it side. There are things I do kind of dislike about this book, but for the most part, I like really, really, really loved it. But this is about a woman who is going home to meet her boyfriend's parents. They're gonna go to his parents' farm and meet them, and on this whole trip she is contemplating inside if she should end things with him. But they actually end up taking a detour and things get crazy. The movie is absolute trash in my opinion. I think the movie was terrible. That's so mean. Oh my gosh. But it's bad. I don't like it. I think it did not capture anything that the movie or that the book did well. I think it just was like a bad representation of the book. I prefer the book. The movie was just so awful in my opinion. But yeah, it's just one of those books that's gonna stay with you. And of course it is snowing during the book, so you know, snow, winter, perfect combination. But yeah, I really do really like this book. I think it's a great one. I think it's one that'll stick with me for a really long time. Next up, Let the Right One In by John Ajvide Lindqvist. Lindqvist? I always say it wrong. This is an iconic Swedish horror story that deals with vampires. I just can't wait to read this one. This is very high up on my list for this winter and to get done by the end of this year. I'm very excited for it. The movie is absolutely excellent. I talk about this book so often. I've been talking about it in a lot of my recent videos, but I just can't wait to get to this one. I've heard really, really good things and I'm excited. That's all I can say. Last book. This is the end, okay? But you know I couldn't end this video without mentioning No Exit by Taylor Adams. I read this in, what, September? Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this book. It is incredible. It is so good. It is a thriller. There is isolation, kidnappings, human evil. It's intense. Oh, there was so much going on. I swear my mouth was just the whole time. I was just like, the whole time. I could not put it down. I read it straight through, read it in one go. It was so, so intense. The ending, okay, the ending, fantastic. Also, our main character, Darby, she's just such a good main character. She's what I wish all main characters in thrillers were like honestly, okay? She was actually smart, and I feel like she had a plan and she really thought things through, and even when she didn't really think things through, she did, if that makes sense. Like I feel like she really did try to do the best that she could, and that's what I appreciate in these stories, okay? That's what I appreciate. But yeah, the majority of the book takes place where the characters are snowed in at a rest area, so I mean, the isolation is nerve-wracking. And of course, you know, snow, blizzards, perfect for winter. So I can't recommend this one enough either. My friends, that is my winter suggestions, recommendations, something video. I told you I would get it out to you, and I did. Are you happy? I hope so. I hope I included some books that maybe you didn't really think about, or maybe you haven't heard of, or maybe, I feel like that's not true. I feel like I'm not including many that people haven't heard of. I feel like these are very popular winter horror thriller reads, but just in case, I hope that I was able to give you a idea of something. Maybe you were struggling for a book and this had something in there for you. I don't know. I hope so. I hope there was something in there for you. If you've read any of these, or if any are on your TBR, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations for me for winter horror, please leave them down below. I know several people have already given me some suggestions, and I am looking into them. I just haven't, either haven't A, bought them, or B, gotten them yet. So I have been taking your suggestions into account. Don't think I'm ignoring you if you have suggested a book. I just haven't gotten it yet. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know if you enjoy the content that I'm putting out. That way I can keep giving you that content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We can become friends, talk about books, movies, horror, manga, all kinds of things. I do try to do a lot on this channel, so hopefully there's something that piques your interest. And with that being said, I hope you are having a wonderful day, night, morning, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!